Professor Anya held her 1-month-old daughter, Elara, tighter as Dr. Kalen's voice sliced through the night air like a shard of ice. "Pack your things and get out of my apartment," he bellowed, his finger jabbing towards the door. His face was contorted with revulsion as he glared at Anya, clutching their crying baby. "I'm done with this absurdity. You and that child are just holding me back from my true destiny." Anya's hands trembled as she tried to quiet Elara, who wailed from hunger. The baby's cries echoed in the small living room of their modest flat in the bustling city of Viridian Heights. Anya's eyes were red and swollen from crying all day since Kalen had revealed his intentions. "Kalen, please," she pleaded, falling to her knees on the cold, tiled floor. "You know I have nowhere to go. Elara is just a baby. She's barely a month old. We are your family." But Kalen's eyes were frigid and vacant, like pebbles in a stream. He was dressed in his finest attire, preparing to meet his pregnant fiancée, Serafina. Over the past few months, as his research firm flourished and grants began to pour in, Kalen had utterly transformed. The man who once adored Anya for her pure heart and diligent spirit now saw her as inferior. "Family?" Kalen scoffed bitterly. "Don't make me laugh, Anya. You think I will squander my life with a local archivist like you? I'm building my future with Serafina now. She's brilliant. She's sophisticated. And she's already carrying my son, my true heir who will inherit everything I possess." Anya looked down at little Elara, who was squirming and crying in her swaddling. The baby's tiny face was crimson from crying, and her small hands reached out as if seeking solace. Anya's heart shattered as she gazed at her innocent daughter. "But Kalen, she's your daughter, too," Anya whispered, her voice barely audible above the baby's cries. "I don't want her," Kalen retorted sharply, his voice laced with venom. "I told you already. Serafina is giving me a son, a boy who will carry my name and inherit my patents. That girl child is useless to me. Now pack your things and go. Serafina will be here soon, and I don't want her to see you." Anya's world crumbled around her. She had met Kalen 3 years ago when she was cataloging ancient scrolls in the city library. Back then, he was just a struggling researcher with modest earnings. They had fallen in love when they both had nothing. They supported each other through difficult times. Kalen would visit her at the library every morning, and slowly their friendship blossomed into love. When Anya became pregnant, Kalen was overjoyed. He promised to care for her and their child. But as his firm began to grow and he became a renowned scientist, earning substantial grants, he started to change. He began to complain about Anya's background, saying she was too common for his new status. Then he met Serafina, a young woman who worked in a prestigious lab in the city. She was everything Anya was not: educated, well-connected, and from an influential family. When Serafina became pregnant, Kalen made his choice. That night, Anya walked the dark streets of Viridian Heights with nothing but her crying daughter and a small satchel containing their few clothes. The city was perilous at night, with dim lighting and deserted avenues. People passed by without even glancing at the young mother carrying her baby. Anya's legs ached from walking, and her back was still sore from giving birth just a month ago. She had no parents to turn to, no siblings to help her. She was an orphan who had come to the city years ago to escape the destitution of her village. All she had was her baby daughter and the clothes on her back. As she walked through the empty streets, Anya's mind raced with fear and despair. Where would they sleep? How would she feed Elara? How would she survive with a newborn baby and no money? After walking for hours, Anya stumbled upon an abandoned research facility by the roadside. The structure had no roof, just concrete walls and a rough cement floor. The air smelled of damp concrete and dust. Anya sat on the hard floor, unwrapped Elara from her back, and began to feed her. As she nursed her daughter, tears fell onto her lap. The night was cold, and she could hear strange noises from the streets. But she held Elara close and whispered, "No matter what happens, my child, I will fight for you. We will not perish here. I promise you that. The next morning, Anya tied Alara securely to her back with her shawl and stepped out to look for work. She walked from street to street, establishment to establishment, asking for any kind of job. Her stomach was empty, but she ignored the hunger. All that mattered was finding a way to feed her baby. At the first office, the owner took one look at her and hissed, "With that crying baby, I beg you, move along. I don't want trouble for my business." At the second clinic, the doctor told her to try the next block. At the third storefront, the woman said she had no work. Rejection followed rejection as Anya walked under the scorching sun with Alara crying from hunger and discomfort. By afternoon, Anya was exhausted and discouraged. Her shawl was soaked with sweat, and Alara was crying non-stop. Just when she was about to give up, she saw a small bookstore owned by a kind-faced woman in her 50s. The woman, who introduced herself as Mrs. Willow, looked at Anya with discerning eyes. "You're looking for work?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am. Please, I can dust shelves, organize books, do anything. I just need work to feed my baby." Mrs. Willow studied Anya for a long moment, then pointed to a stack of unfiled documents. "Organize these papers. Let me see how you work." Anya immediately got to work. She organized papers from morning till evening, sorting each one until it was perfectly categorized. Alara cried on her back, disturbing some customers who frowned and complained about the noise. Anya tried to quiet her daughter while continuing to work, but it was difficult. At closing time, Mrs. Willow handed Anya 700 chronos, the local currency, and some leftover sandwiches wrapped in a paper bag. "Your baby cried too much," she said, shaking her head. "You can't come tomorrow. My customers don't like that kind of disturbance." Anya nodded quietly, thanked Mrs. Willow, and walked back to the abandoned research facility with her small earnings and leftover food. That night, as she fed Alara under the open sky, Anya made a decision. She would not let their situation defeat her. She would find a way to survive and build a better life for her daughter. For the next week, Anya did whatever odd jobs she could find. She cleaned offices, mended clothes for busy professionals, and fetched water for tenants in crowded apartment complexes. Every chrono she earned, she saved carefully. She always fed Alara first before eating anything herself. One afternoon, as she counted her money, Anya realized she had enough to start something small. She had an idea that came from her years of selling rare texts online before she met Kaylin. Anya bought old, discarded books, some glue, and simple binding materials from the market. She borrowed an old crafting table from a kind neighbor and began making small, decorative notebooks by the roadside. She set up her small business on a busy street corner where students and office workers passed by in the mornings and evenings. At first, only a few customers stopped to buy. But Anya's notebooks were different. They were elegantly bound, with unique covers and high-quality paper. Word began to spread. Students started coming regularly. Some even began to place custom orders for their university departments. Anya's reputation grew slowly but steadily. By Alara's first birthday, Anya had saved enough money to rent a tiny room in a compound. It had no proper door, just a curtain, and the floor was bare cement, but it was home. She laid Alara on a mat and whispered, "We are no longer homeless, my child. This is just the beginning." As Alara grew, her personality began to show. By age 3, she was observant and always asking questions about everything around her. "Mommy, why don't we have a big house like the professor next door?" Alara would ask. Anya would smile and pat her daughter's head. "Because we are still climbing the mountain, my dear. But we will get there. Just be patient." When Alara turned 5, Anya enrolled her in the nearest public school. She could only afford one uniform and a few basic books. But Alara didn't complain. In school, she was focused, respectful, and hungry for knowledge. Her teachers noticed her intelligence and eagerness to learn. When her classmates asked about her father, Alara would simply say, "I don't have one. I only have mommy, and she's enough for me." By age 8, Alara started helping her mother after school. She would sit beside the notebook stand, package orders, and collect money from customers. People began to notice the neat little girl and her hardworking mother. Anya's business continued to grow. Her bespoke notebooks and journals became famous in that part of the city. People would travel from different neighborhoods just to buy her creations. One day, a regular customer named Mr. Henderson approached Anya with an exciting request. "Anya, I want to order your journals for my company's annual conference next weekend. I need 200 customized notebooks and 50 personalized journals." Anya was thrilled. This was her biggest order yet. She poured her heart and soul into preparing for the conference, binding until midnight to make sure everything was perfect. The conference was a huge success. Attendees loved the journals and kept asking for Anya's contact information. Mr. Henderson told everyone, "Her name is Anya. Her craftsmanship is the best in the city." After that conference, more orders began to come in. Anya's phone started ringing with requests for corporate gifts, wedding favors, and special events. She realized she needed help. Anya saved her money and rented a small studio. She hired 2 assistants and left the roadside for good. She registered her business as Alara's Emporium and painted a beautiful sign for her studio. Meanwhile, Alara was excelling in school. Her teachers were amazed by her intelligence and dedication. One day, her principal called Anya for a meeting. "Mrs. Anya, your daughter is exceptional. I want to recommend her for a scholarship program run by a philanthropic foundation. They provide full education support for brilliant children from modest backgrounds." Anya's eyes filled with tears of joy. Alara took the entrance test and passed with flying colors. She was awarded a scholarship that would cover her secondary school and university education. Anya wept with happiness. She bought Alara a new school bag and shoes and told her, "Your future is bright, my daughter. Go and shine like the star you are." As the years passed, Anya's business continued to flourish. She opened 3 more branches across Viridian Heights. She hired several staff members and bought a small second-hand car. She moved with Alara to a decent apartment with proper flooring, running water, and reliable electricity. Their life had completely transformed from the days of sleeping in an abandoned building. While Anya and Alara were building their success, Kalan was living comfortably with his fiancée, Serafina. She had given birth to a boy just as he had wanted. They lived in a grand penthouse, and Kalan spoiled Serafina with precious artifacts and designer clothes. He was convinced he had made the right choice. But life has a way of surprising people. One ordinary Tuesday morning, tragedy struck at Kalan's research facility. A critical system malfunctioned during an experiment. Kalan was caught in the resulting explosion. And although he survived, he became paralyzed from the waist down. At first, Serafina stayed by his side. But as the medical bills mounted and Kalan's income stopped, their savings began to disappear. The grand penthouse was sold, the car was sold, the precious artifacts were sold. As their money ran out, Serafina's love ran out, too. She became cold and distant. She complained constantly about their situation and blamed Kalan for the accident. One morning, Kalan woke up to find Serafina packing her bags. She had their son dressed and ready to go. "Where are you going?" Kalan asked from his wheelchair. "I'm leaving," Serafina said without looking at him. "I can't live like this anymore. I'm still young and beautiful. I can find someone better." "But what about our son?" Kalan pleaded. Serafina turned to him with a cruel smile. "That child is not your son. I lied to you. I only said he was yours to secure my place. I was already pregnant when I met you. Goodbye, Kalan." Kalan felt like his world had ended. He cried like a baby as Serafina walked out with the child he had believed was his son. His house was sold to pay debts. His former colleagues disappeared. Now living in a small, cramped apartment, he lay on a thin mattress, helpless and alone. Day after day, Kalen lay there thinking about his life. He began to remember Anya and baby Alara. He remembered how Anya had begged him not to throw them out. He remembered the look of disgust on his face when he looked at his own daughter. Regret consumed him like a fire. He realized that in chasing what he thought was a better life, he had lost everything that truly mattered. While Kalen was rotting away in poverty and loneliness, Alara was reaching new heights. She graduated from the university with first-class honors in astrophysics. Anya sat proudly in the front row of the graduation hall, tears of joy flowing freely down her cheeks. "My daughter is now a brilliant scientist," Anya whispered, hugging Alara tightly after the ceremony. Alara secured a prestigious position at one of the best observatories in the city. She became known not just for her scientific prowess, but also for her kindness and compassion toward her colleagues. She never forgot where she came from or the struggles she and her mother had faced. But Alara didn't stop there. She established a free educational center in her mother's name, Anya's Academy. It was specifically for underprivileged students who couldn't afford quality education. Every month, despite her busy schedule at the main observatory, Alara visited the center personally. She tutored students, donated learning materials, and ensured that no one was turned away because of money. One weekend, Alara and Anya arrived at the center carrying bags of books and supplies. The waiting room was full of people. Young students eager to learn, older individuals seeking to improve their skills, and families who had nowhere else to go. They moved from desk to desk, checking on students and offering encouragement. "Thank you, Dr. Alara," said one old woman with tears in her eyes. "May the heavens bless you and your mother. You are angels." When they reached the last desk in the study hall, the administrator pulled Anya aside. "Madam, this man was brought here 2 months ago," she whispered. "No identification, no family. He can't move and he barely speaks. We don't even know his name." Anya walked closer to the desk. The man sitting there was thin and looked much older than his years. His hair was gray, and his face was sunken, but something about him seemed familiar. Anya's eyes widened. Her breath caught in her throat. Her heart began to race. "Kalen," she whispered. The thin man at the desk stirred slowly and opened his eyes. When he saw Anya, his eyes widened with shock and recognition. "Anya," he said weakly, his voice barely a whisper. Alara, who had been helping another student, walked over to see what was happening. She looked confused as she saw her mother standing frozen beside the desk. "Mommy, who is this man?" Alara asked. Anya hesitated for a long moment, then took a deep breath. That is your father." Alara felt like she had been struck by lightning. She stared at the weak, broken man at the desk. This was the man who had thrown them out into the streets when she was just a baby. This was the man who had called her useless and said he didn't want her. "This is the man who threw us out?" Alara asked quietly. Anya nodded slowly, tears beginning to form in her eyes. Kalen looked at Alara with wonder and pain. Here was his daughter, grown up, educated, successful, and brilliant. Here was the child he had rejected, now a renowned scientist, helping people in need. "I'm sorry," Kalen began to cry. "I'm so sorry for everything. I didn't know. I was so foolish. Please forgive me. Alara, my daughter, please forgive your father." Alara's face went blank. She felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion, and pain. Without saying a word, she turned and walked out of the room, leaving Kalen to cry at his desk. That night, Alara sat quietly on the balcony of their apartment, staring out at the city lights. Anya joined her, carrying 2 cups of herbal tea. You should forgive him, Anya said gently, sitting beside her daughter. Mommy, after everything he did to you, after he threw us out with nothing, after he called me useless. Yes, my dear, but holding anger in your heart only poisons you. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget what happened. It doesn't mean you trust him again or let him back into your life. It means you choose peace over bitterness. Elara was quiet for a long time, thinking about her mother's words. She thought about all the nights they had slept hungry, all the times they had struggled, all the pain they had endured because of Kalen's choices. The next day, Elara returned to the center. She walked slowly to her father's desk and stood beside it. Kalen looked up at her with eyes full of guilt and hope. I forgive you, Elara said softly, her voice steady and calm. Kalen broke down completely. Thank you, my daughter. Thank you so much. But I want you to understand something, Elara continued. I don't need a father now. I had my mother, and she was enough. She was father and mother to me. However, I won't leave you here to suffer. Elara arranged for Kalen to be transferred to a government care facility for the aged and disabled. It wasn't luxurious, but it was clean and safe. He would be fed, clothed, and receive proper medical care. Before the transfer, Kalen held Elara's hand weakly. I know I don't deserve your kindness. I know I lost the right to call you my daughter, but I want you to know that seeing who you've become, it's the only good thing that has come from my life. Kalen spent his remaining years at the care facility. He never asked for anything more from Elara. Occasionally, he would send small notes through the facility staff, always expressing gratitude and never requesting visits or money. Years passed. Elara married a kind scholar who loved and respected her. Anya walked her daughter down the aisle at the wedding, beaming with pride. At the reception, people praised the successful scientist and her incredible mother. Anya sat back and smiled as she watched Elara dance with her husband. Later, when Elara had her own daughter, Anya held her granddaughter and whispered, Look how far we've come, little one. From sleeping on cold floors to this beautiful life. They had built their success without hate, without bitterness, and without Kalen. Love, determination, and hard work had been their foundation. As Anya watched her daughter's happy family, she knew that their greatest victory was not the money or the success. It was the fact that they had risen above their circumstances without losing their humanity. They had chosen forgiveness over revenge, hard work over self-pity, and love over hate. And that, Anya believed, was the real triumph of their journey.